I'm Samira Jain. I'm a user researcher and design manager. I used to work for an innovation consulting firm in India. We designed solutions, which could be a product, a process, or service for businesses. My role was to engage with users and synthesize insights that would help develop relevant solutions. I took a year off, relocated to study the methods that I often applied at work, to analyze them through a theoretical and critical design lens. Good afternoon. My name is Samira Jain. I'm going to talk to you about how co-design is being packaged and commodified. Co-design is when a designer involves a non-designer in making design decisions. According to Liz Sanders, who coined the term in 1999, co-design is the creativity of designers and people not trained in design working together across the whole span of a design development process. However, it is not always applied throughout the design development process. Before coming to this program, I was a designer in India and often co-designed with people. And I can tell you that co-design is used as per the practitioner's needs and interests. For example, it is sometimes applied at the beginning of a project to build client buy-in. Or it is applied at the prototyping stage to get feedback on ideas. It is also applied once the product or service has been designed and co-opted for marketing purposes. For example, My Muesli allows people to customize cereal, or Nike ID lets people customize shoes. I looked at co-design as it is applied by design consultancies through toolkits for social development, and by corporations through set guidelines for profit. By critiquing these productized and codified formats of co-design, I aim to develop my own definition of the practice. Participatory practices have long existed in different fields under different names. Social developers know it as action research. Scandinavian designers call it participatory design, which started out in Norway in the 1960s, out of the ideology of workplace democracy. Even though there is no singular definition or consistent parameters for these practices, there are several overlaps and common principles that experts agree on. I use the principles of these various practices as a frame to evaluate my case studies. Some of these principles are believing that users are joint problem solvers and that they are not passive objects of study, but experts of their own experiences. Co-design thrives on creativity, fantasy, and play. Although everyone is creative, people have to be given the right tools to express themselves. Therefore, co-design cannot be completely outsourced to non-designers. It is subjective and depends on the practitioner's abilities to use the right tools at the right time. The practitioner also must respect alternate views presented by non-designers. But why talk about co-design at all? Co-design brings agency to people. It gives them the power to decide what should be designed in the world. But by homogenizing its applications under umbrella terms such as co-creation, it leads to recuperation. Guy Debord explains the concept as the process by which socially radical ideas, and in this case co-design, can be twisted, co-opted, and commodified by those controlling the conversation and presented to the mainstream society as the socially conventional perspective. Rather than creating meaningful experiences, non-designers tend to become mere accomplices to the production of profit-generating goods and services. So who is controlling the conversation? Co-design is being commodified by profit-making centers into oversimplified guidelines to help the several hundred designers working in these companies to operate at a large scale, such as McKinsey's braided design model, where co-creation is summarized in 4 steps based on workshops and feedback sessions. or IBM's sponsor user program, where users become sponsor users by signing a contract of confidentiality. The other way co-design is being packaged is by design consultancies for social development in the form of toolkits for marginalized communities. In this case, a toolkit stands in for a trained designer and helps community leaders co-design with community members, such as IDEO's Human-Centered Design Toolkit, or Disrupt Design's Make Change Handbook, or Frog Design's Collective Action Toolkit, or CAT. Let's look at toolkits more closely, and especially this one. All the toolkits that I mentioned have one thing in common. They are designed by designers to solve problems the way designers do, but without the presence of trained designers. And this way, these toolkits drive a discourse of cultural hegemony. That is, design consultancies succeed in presenting design methodologies in a way that communities accept it as common sense. Design consultancies say that these toolkits are their commitment to invest in social impact. It can be downloaded from their website, free of cost. Although the intent is altruistic, these toolkits can cause more harm than good. CAT is a 72-page, non-linear booklet of activities. On their website, the makers of CAT claim that it is a standalone resource designed to lead anyone, anywhere through the problem-solving process, to any problem, anytime, and that it is helping thousands of people around the world to co-create solutions in their communities. I have several points of contention with this product with magical powers, and let me outline a few. It seems to be missing the wizard, by which I mean a trained facilitator. Designers are trained in certain skills, such as dealing with ambiguity and being able to make decisions in the absence of complete information. And the toolkit is built on this foundation. This picture is taken from the CAT website. So if you notice carefully, there is a designer or trained facilitator helping this group. Even though the toolkit or the booklet avoids the use of design jargon, communities are expected to solve problems in a designerly manner. This way, the toolkit is assuming that every community has a natural facilitator or designer present, which might not be the case. All communities have internal biases, motivations, and power structures. Social developers are aware and cautious of the fact that despite having a trained facilitator or practitioner, communities conceal power structures and biases based on age, gender, caste, class, and ethnicity. But toolkits such as CAT treat the community as homogeneous, static, and harmonious units within which people share interests, common interests, and needs. By assuming this, toolkits potentially create new and harmful power relations. And the toolkit does not aim to create real solutions. The final outcome is clay and paper models. Toolkits do not tackle the issues of implementation, managing resources, and dealing with higher authorities. They are not designed to tackle policy issues and government reforms, but look at concerns in communities as deficiencies to be remedied. By actively sharing them on social media, designers, community leaders, and organizations accept toolkits as infallible tools for innovation. But they fail to recognize that toolkits can create false expectations, skew power structures, and unhinge current systems to create harmful ones. It is the responsibility of designers to constantly challenge ideas propagated by design consultancies and corporations. Co-design needs other practices from other fields to build effective participatory design environments. By looking at co-design in the areas of social development and commerce, I worked on my own hybridized and rather complex definition of co-design. It is up for debate, discussion, and further development. I look at co-design as a transparent dialogue for which non-designers come together and solve shared problems. Using design tools and processes, with the help of designers trained as facilitators. Designers and non-designers engage with clearly defined motivations and interests, and where all the participants are equal owners of the solutions produced. Thank you.